Right, it's time now for a weekly check on the latest news making headlines in the world of technology. A number of US tech giants have been in the hot seat over their controversial in-app payment arrangement. And for more details on that and its implications here in Korea, I have Ji Lee in the studio with me. Ji, welcome back.
Good afternoon, Sunny. In today's segment, we'll talk about Apple, Google, and Epic Games, the creator of the popular online game Fortnite. The in-app purchase issue first made headlines around the world with a lawsuit. Apple yanked Fortnite from its App Store last year after Epic Games added an option for players to directly pay them for in-app purchases without going through Apple's ecosystem. Epic brought a lawsuit against the iPhone maker in August 2020 in California related to Apple's practices in the iOS App Store, specifically challenging the restrictions on apps from having other in-app purchasing methods. Previously, Epic Games founder Tim Sweeney had challenged the 30% revenue cut the tech giant takes on each purchase made in the App Store. Sweeney is visiting Korea as we speak, and we'll get into that in a bit. He wanted to either bypass Apple or have the company take less of a cut. So what did he do? Epic Games implemented changes in Fortnite intentionally on August 13th last year to do away the App Store payment system, prompting the company to block the game from the App Store.
Wow, some tangible action right there. So, Ji, what is the ruling now?
So this is the latest. A week ago, a U.S. federal judge ruled that Apple can't push back the deadline to update the App Store policies as previously ordered in the California court. Apple largely won that lawsuit when the judge declared that Apple was not operating as a monopoly, but the court did side with the Fortnite maker on the matter of Apple's anti-steering policies regarding restrictions on in-app purchases. In other words, the court agrees that Apple forbid developers from directing users to third-party payments, which is anti-competitive. The court's original ruling stated that Apple would no longer be allowed of those practices, but Apple wanted that decision to be put on hold until its appeals case was decided. That delay would have effectively pushed back the App Store changes by years. U.S. District Judge Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers issued that ruling and ordered Apple to no longer stop developers from, verbatim, including in their apps and their metadata buttons, external links or other calls to action that direct customers to purchasing mechanisms in addition to in-app purchasing. The court also said Apple couldn't prevent developers from communicating with customers through points of contact obtained voluntarily from customers through their account registration within the app.
Right, I see. Let's now turn our attention to Korea. As you mentioned, Epic Games CEO has already arrived in Korea by now then.
He probably should have, along with other people who are going to be speaking in Korea today. So Sweeney and other critics of Apple and Alphabet Inc.'s Google are poised to speak in Korea this Tuesday. Others to speak at the National Assembly Library of Korea include Executive Director of the Coalition for App Fairness, Megan DiMuzio, and Cedric O, the Secretary of State for Digital Economy in France. From the Korean side, Speaker of the National Assembly, Park Young-seok, and other lawmakers will join. As you are probably aware, Korean lawmakers amended the country's Telecommunication Business Act back in August, about a year after Epic Games filed a lawsuit against Apple. Now, under that change, the operators of app stores would have to allow third-party payment systems in their stores instead of forcing developers to use in-app payment systems that charge commissions. The Korean Communications Commission, or the KCC, has asked both Apple and Google to submit compliance plans. Google has submitted a plan already, but it's unclear whether that plan will lower costs for developers. Rather than charge a standard 15% commission for the use of its in-app payment system, Google will charge developers who use their own payment system an 11% commission. Those developers will likely pay an additional 3 to 4% in fees to an outside payment processor. Apple, for its part, hasn't said whether it plans to submit a compliance plan. In October, a Korean official told Reuters that Apple had said to regulators that it doesn't believe it needs to make any changes to its current business practices. Now, this could put the iPhone maker on a collision course with regulators here, unfortunately.
I see. Meanwhile, Ji, what's the significance of Seoul's latest ruling now?
So this is actually the first time globally that a government has intervened to prevent Apple and Google from imposing their own payment rails on its in-app purchases. The two companies have been increasingly under scrutiny over the restrictive aspects of their payment systems in many countries, as we have seen in the US example. Naturally, many will be looking to see if the move in Korea becomes a tipping point, leading to similar measures in those markets. Australia's Competition and Consumer Commission is also considering regulations for the digital payment systems of Apple, Google, and China's WeChat. That's all for me today.
All right, Jay, as always, thank you very much for that coverage.
Thanks for having me.